Okay, there we are. And hello, my friend. Welcome to Personal Conversations, the show that gets into the theater things we love. I'm Fuller, and I'm joined today by the lovely MJ Kuhn. How you doing?
Hello, I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm very, very good. Let me click that go live button on Instagram too. All right, hello Instagram. We're live on both. So I'm joined today by MJ Kuhn. We're going to talk about all sorts of things. I'm excited to get to chat with you. I'm a big fan of SFF Addicts, the podcast that you co-host. But of course, you also are the author of a full duology, Among Thieves and... Go ahead, yes, please.
Pew.
Bam! Bam!
Bam! And that these paperbacks are the same size. My publisher changed print sizes in between, but
oh my gosh!
That.
Yeah, no, we'll edit that part out.
Right? Of the line. Men in black will mind erasers.
yeah. Just forget about that. I see Bert's already around. Hi, Bert. Thanks for showing up. Good to, and your favorite gym rat. Right? You brought this on yourself, MJ. So tell me, how's the 75 hard going?
It's good. Today's day 25. So I'm a third of the way through.
Woo woo!
I'm alive. And I'm still drinking an obscene amount of water because you have to drink a gallon of water a day, which is, like, believe it or not, one of the hardest parts of the challenge. A gallon is more water than you think. It's a lot.
A gallon is quite a bit of water. That's pretty wild. Yeah. Crystal Matar, Assassin Mother.
Hello, my dear.
Thanks for showing up, Crystal. So, yeah, you're an author. You've got your complete duology out in the world. You're the SFF Addicts co-host. I'm going to talk about that. You do marketing as a day job. You're this gym rat, badass, like posting your pictures. What can't you do? Oh, wait. Also a big video game enthusiast, which I find fantastic. We're going to try not to spend the whole time talking about Mass Effects, but no guarantee.
I make no promises on that front.
So I'm excited to get into all of that. I want to start with your books. So you have a complete duology already out in the world. Tell us a little bit about Among Thieves and Thick as Thieves. Who are these books for? What is kind of the vibe? You know, what's your pitch for these books?
Yeah, so my pitch for the books, I mean, I have a few different pitches, but like, the most common one I go for is that it's like Game of Thrones meets Ocean's 11. So fantasy heist, 6 thieves teaming up to, steal a magical artifact. The twist is that they're all... Wait, can I swear?
You're good now.
Okay. That they're all selfish assholes. And every member of the team is looking to screw everybody else over and take the loot for their own reasons. So it's kind of twisty, and there's lots of betrayal. It's adult fantasy, but I think it's kind of cusp. Young adult fans might like it too.
Sure. Grim Dark Light, apparently.
I have people have called it. I forget who. Crystal, do you remember who said that first? It was someone on Twitter. Said that it was Grim Dark Light, and I was like, I love that description.
I love it. Yeah, Game of Thrones, Ocean's 11. I can only assume that George Clooney gets beheaded.
No spoilers.
My bad. No, that sounds super fun. I also I saw on the cover, of course, Nicholas Eames said that he devoured your books, and I feel like that's pretty high praise.
Literally, okay, I'm going to tell the story of me asking for the blurb from Nicholas Eames. Because, and actually, I've never told this story except for to like, I don't know, friends and family before. But I think it's really funny because
exclusive.
I'm like a big fan of Nicholas Eames, like Kings of the Wild, Bloody Rose. Like, these are some of my favorites. And I was at an airport bar waiting for a flight that was delayed, and I had a few drinks and was feeling a little tipsy and very confident, and I just DM'd him and asked if he would blurb it. And then by the time I landed back in Detroit, I had an answer that said yes, he would blurb my book. So the message is, send the drunken DM. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm on board. I think that's the right message. Yeah.
Out in this specific instance.
Right. It was because it wasn't to an ex. Those are the drunken DMs you don't want. But the confident, I'm gonna shoot my shot DMs.
Like,
Go for it.
Ask. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah. Right.
Tipsy blurb request, best story ever. Yep.
It worked out great. But yeah, I was super honored because I'm a huge fan of his work. So
Right. That's pretty awesome. I'm curious, when you like first envisioned those stories, did you envision it as a duology or did it kind of evolve over time?
yeah, that's a good question. I definitely envisioned it as a duology from the beginning. Because well, I had the whole story plotted out. I'm a big time
Mhm.
which
Mhm.
SFF
Ah,
Addicts
yes.
friends know.
Yes. I have
I
to ask
plot
about that. Yes.
in Microsoft Excel because I'm a
Ow! What is that? What is this witchcraft?
no, it's fun. I mean, yeah, it actually is fun. I actually one of the tabs I have open right now, that's not StreamYard, is the whatever Google Sheets document for
Yeah.
my latest project. But yeah, so I had planned out the whole story, and it was
Mhm.
more of like I realized it was too big for one book, and then
Mhm.
I like
Mhm.
looked at it and realized there was really two arcs. So yeah, I
Okay.
had it planned
Okay.
as a duology, but my publisher only bought book one to start with, and then they
Really?
built it as a standalone,
Huh.
which was really fun for the early reviews because it ends on a cliffhanger.
Mm.
So early reviewers were often like, "What the hell? It doesn't end."
What?
And
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
"I know," because they hadn't announced the sequel yet. But yeah, it was always a duology in my mind. I do have, like, ideas for a sequel series set,
Mhm.
like, 20 years after the events of Thick as Thieves, that I hope to write someday, but I haven't written it yet. I have it
Yeah, like
outlined,
your
but I haven't written it yet. So
like your Sanderson era's going on, right?
yeah.
Uh How do publishers screw that up, man? Like, I'm amazed sometimes when they like I read The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers, which was really, really good, but I feel like the publisher really borked the way that they present that book, because when you read kind of the back description, it's all about the first character that you meet, and you think that that character is going to be like the main character, and it's
Yeah.
not that. It's so much more of an ensemble story, and I feel like if it had been presented that way, like, I mean, I know people that have read that book that are like, "It wasn't what I thought it was gonna be," and I'm like, you know?
Yeah, I feel like I've read a lot of books that surprised me when I actually got into it, which, I mean, to be fair, like, it's hard to boil down a full book in 3
Yeah,
paragraphs. Well,
sure.
I get it.
But at the
But
same
yeah,
time, like, I mean, if it's your job, it's like,
come on,
that's like
guys, get
right?
it
I mean,
together.
yeah. I don't know. Ryan asked if he should be looking over his shoulder during the stream because Assassin Mom MJ Kuhn is my title. So I think he's worried that you're gonna come with like a knife,
Right?
around the camera.
Hatchets, it's hatchets for me, don't worry.
Okay.
They're
So
a lot
yeah.
less subtle.
Nice, nice, nice. Okay, cool. So yes, Game of Thrones, Ocean's 11 sounds up super fun. It's well reviewed. Everyone should go check it out. Uh, let's talk also about. I want to get into writing more, but first, I want to talk about your other work that I know you from. The thing that I'm very, more of a fan of. Uh, Let me just really quickly. This thing.
Oh my gosh!
Right.
Embarrassing. I don't have my SFF Addicts merch on, but you
You don't
do.
have your
I love it.
SFF Addicts. What a great podcast. What have you been co-hosting for? Is it a year now, or has it been longer?
Yeah, little over a year. So I started my first episode was January 2023 was when
Yeah,
I like came on the scene.
yeah.
Well, my first episode as co-host. I'd been on the previous iteration of SFF Addicts as a panelist, which is how I actually met Adrian.
Ah,
He like had me on a panel. Actually, it was a panel about Game of Thrones.
nice.
And the actor that played Syrio Farrell was on the panel with us, which was
Oh wow,
dope. Yeah,
that's super cool.
it
Yeah,
was super cool. Because Adrian is a wizard and he can like get the craziest personalities to come on with us. It's crazy. It's awesome.
yeah.
But yeah, and then after we had that panel, he like DM'd me and was like, "Hey, You ever thought about podcasting? I need a co-host. And I was like,
Really?
okay. Yeah.
See, that was gonna be like a question. It was like how you did. So it was you were on one panel, and he was like, "She's my girl."
Like this bitch. I like her. I like her vibes. Joke's on him. Now he's stuck with me.
That's wild. That's awesome. That's that's pretty cool. That's it just blows my mind at the same time, though. I can't imagine like
crazy because now he's like one of my closest friends. I talk to him literally every day.
right.
And it's like, oh my God, I can't imagine like a world in which that didn't happen. So
That's awesome. This is what an amazing world. That's pretty cool. I'm stunned. Um, so you've been doing the show for a year. When you first started it, were you like pretty nervous, or did you feel pretty yeah?
oh my God, I
It
was so
didn't. It doesn't come through. So
oh good. I swear I still get nervous most a lot of episodes because like gosh it's just it's amazing the people we talk to. I'm starstruck constantly. But also like everyone is just so delightful. They're all
book
so
people are good
kind.
people.
Yeah, right? Like book people are the coolest. We've
Yeah.
talked to I mean like Christopher Paolini,
Hmm.
Martha Wells, right? Like these big ass names and they're just like they come on and they're just cool. They're just cool
Hmm.
people.
Hmm.
But yeah, the very first interview that I did was with Travis Baldry, which
Oh, he's so great.
for the record, he's like the kindest human. I got to meet him when
Yes.
I was in Portland for Rose City Comic Con this year too, and he's just like
Hmm.
a gem of a person. But like
Yeah.
that's a big name to be my
Yeah.
first ever interview. Like just New York Times bestseller, no big deal. It's fine. It's fine.
That's
Um,
funny. He was my first like person that I talked to that wasn't like a personal friend.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Well, and again, like he's like the most delightful person.
He
He's
was
so
so
kind.
wonderful. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and it was great. But yeah, no, I was really nervous. The one I was the most nervous, uh, I almost had to do one by myself because Adrian's second son was born. You know, the birth of a child, no big deal.
Kind of a
Um,
big deal. Kind of a big
we
deal.
were able to reschedule with the author, but for a minute, Adrian was like, "I think you're gonna have to do this one yourself." And I'm like still learning the controls. I don't know how to like record things in Zencaster and blah blah blah
Yeah.
blah.
Yeah.
Blah. And it was gonna be Chuck Wendig, which is like I I mean, A, he's quite famous, but B, I'm like a fangirl for Chuck Wendig because like
Yeah.
I've read his blog religiously since like 2017. And
Mhm.
I was like, you're gonna leave me alone with Glenn? And of course, he's also delightful, but Adrian was able to make it. But yeah, I was
Right.
very scared.
That's awesome. I love Crystal's comment. Having met MJ in real life, can confirm ridiculous charming story tracks. All right, fair.
It's my
Yeah.
wife, Crystal. We've
Though I
gone
like your
Christmas shopping together, so that's marriage in Canada. I don't know if you know this.
I was unaware, but now I
The
assumed that there was
tradition.
maple syrup involved, but I guess I'm wrong.
That was before. Got breakfast and then went,
Okay.
"Actually, we actually did have lunch before, didn't we, Kristen?" Yeah. I don't think we had any syrup, though.
But I like your question. We'll get to that though. So okay, you've been doing this for a year. You've talked to what is that like maybe like 25-ish now that you're doing this format, probably 25-ish authors roughly.
Yeah.
Do you have any? Is there anyone that like really? I mean, obviously that Chuck Wendig story sticks out. Was there another one that you're like, oh, this was like? Because definitely, it seemed like your enthusiasm level for Christopher Paolini was off the charts.
Yeah. Well, so I was like, I still can't believe that we got to talk to Paulini because I read the Aragon books when I was a child.
Hmm.
I asked Adrian if I could tell Christopher this, and he said no. But I wanted to tell him that he was supposed to be my husband. Um, I had a huge crush on him when I was a kid because, like, I was young. I was reading these books. I was loving these books. And then I look, and the author is like a 15-year-old kid. And at the time,
Yeah,
I'm 12 or whatever, right?
you're like,
And so
oh,
I
we're
was like,
close. We're close enough. Yeah,
oh my
yeah.
God, I'm going to marry him someday. I wasn't allowed to tell him that.
What is this about?
Probably for the best.
I mean, whatever. I don't know. I think that would have been so funny to like have that as like an after, because I imagine that you probably talk with some of the guests like after you stop recording. That would have been such a fun story.
Right? To just be like, hey, by the way,
I had the biggest
here's my
crush on
ring.
you. Yeah, right.
Be
That's
like,
funny.
I'm never coming back on this show. Yeah, no, that was great. We
Whatever.
also, I mean, Jim Butcher was great to have on. That was a very cool interview.
That was his masterclass. I was like, okay, taking notes,
Yeah, I take notes all the time. I have a notebook that I keep out while we're interviewing folks.
Yeah.
And like, I remember when we were doing the interview, because I suck at writing fight scenes. I hate doing it. I will do it. But we talked about writing combat with Alexander Darwin, and he's great at writing combat, but B, he's a trained martial artist, and so like, literally I'm like like writing down all these notes, and it's been really great for my, like, I don't know, writing toolbox, just being able to talk to these people, and I hope that our listeners, you know what I mean, like they're hearing the same thing that we are, so hopefully they're getting some cool stuff too.
As a listener, yes.
Some good stuff.
Right. Yeah. Awesome. I'm still can't believe that you guys did the one panel and he's like, be my co-host. That's just so crazy. But I mean, he nailed it. Yeah. Right. I mean, but that's awesome. And clearly it's worked out, you know. Okay. So let's get back to writing a little bit. Obviously your duology is he's got an eye for clearly.
Well, I like that answer. I think that's a good answer.
Yes. Your duology is out. You know what? And let's talk about your publishing. So the first book was, both books are traditionally published, right?
Yep.
But there was like the first book was a 1-book deal, and then you had to kind of sell them on the next book, right?
Yeah, they wanted to see, which again makes sense, right? Like, I'm a debut author, untested, unproven. They don't know anything about me.
It's still surprising though, because I thought the industry right now was that they were more likely to sign multi-book deals. Really?
No, right now, like, the standalone is king. Like, there are multi-book deals. People are getting multi-book deals.
Yeah, Travis Baldree. Yeah.
But a lot of the things, like when you're seeing like 9-book deals and stuff, like those
are
like
sure.
the Lee Bardugos of the world, right? For the newer kids on the block, again, people do get multi-book deals. Yeah, exactly. But you know,
couldn't help myself.
It's not the best of that. So yeah, they just wanted to make sure, right, that there's going to be a market for a book 2, right? Enough people read book 1 that it warrants publishing a book 2.
Right.
And so we did have to wait for the sales numbers to come in through actually the paperback release before they were willing to put pen to paper and go, okay. And then I was like, I can tell the rest of the story.
Yeah, right.
I was planning, if they didn't pick up book 2, I was gonna self-publish it, because I knew there were readers asking for it, even if it wasn't enough to warrant a trad deal. I still wanted to tell the rest of the story for the people that had invested in book 1 if they wanted it. But yeah, I was glad that I was able to get it through the same publisher.
Are you currently under contract for another book or no?
No, which is a very freeing place to be. It's scary. It's scary because I may never get another trad pub deal again, right? Like, that's just a truth.
That's a possibility.
Real. I'm very stubborn, and so even if it takes till I'm like 90, like I'm gonna do it, whatever I can to get there. But yeah, it's kind of freeing because I do have friends that are under contract for deals through 2029 or whatever.
Yeah.
And while that's great for their stability, and I'm very, very envious of that.
Sure.
I've drafted, I have a cyberpunk project in the works right now. I have an epic, thumbs up. I have an epic fantasy project in the works right now. I have a weird horror project in the works right now. It's like, I can just kind of do whatever the F I feel like.
Yeah.
Because I'm not under contract. So that part's been kind of fun.
Right. Yeah. I wouldn't be opposed to like a trad deal in my writing future, but the idea of being under contract, especially for like a long period of time, would just make me die.
Yeah, well, I've heard writing a book under contract, and not even just that I've heard, like, imagine writing a book under contract on a deadline when you're, you have all this pressure from, the powers that be and readers and stuff. And thankfully I was able to avoid that because I had Thick as Thieves completely written before Among Thieves came out. So by the time I got the deal for Thick as Thieves, I was just like, here, it's done.
Yeah.
Have it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've heard from a lot of people that writing a book under contract is a
Yeah.
really stressful experience. So, I mean,
Right.
hopefully someday I get that experience because I hope I get under contract, but also
Sure.
I kind of hope I don't. I don't know. It's complicated. Grass is always greener, right?
Right. Um, so while we're talking like publishing, talking like indie and whatnot, I am absolutely sure that you've paid attention to everything like Brandon Sanderson is doing and his new secret project because that man is actually an android, I'm
Like,
sure.
how does he write so fast? It's
I
yeah.
said I said that in a Discord and someone was like, he actually sleep talks and he records it and it's all dictation. I was like, ah, that must be it.
There you go. Maybe
Yep.
work
Yep.
smarter, not harder, baby.
You're right. But what do you think of like, I mean, do, do you think how much do you think that he's changing kind of the industry? Because clearly, like he is to some degree because he's like kind of had it Audible like change some of their stuff. But I don't know, like I'm not like in the indie space. There's a lot of other authors that are starting to do like Kickstarters. I think that like that was already a bit of a thing, but it feels like it's way more of a thing now. You know. Um, but do you think like I mean, have you heard of any trad pub people that are like paying attention, going like, you know what, maybe I could do sort of like this hybrid model where like I'm trad but also doing some sort of like indie deal or
Hi, it's me. I'm thinking of doing that.
yeah,
I
okay,
mean,
okay,
I'm
okay.
planning on doing that. I
Ooh, tell
so
me
I'm
about
not sure if it's just Brando Sando. I do think
it.
that he is bringing more like I don't know, positive attention to the indie scene, which
Mm-hmm.
is always a
Mm-hmm.
good thing because there's always good stuff coming out of the indie scene.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a lot of times it's harder for well, it's hard for a lot of books to get the spotlight in trad
Right.
and indie.
Right.
But yeah, no, I think personally, in the current publishing market,
Mm-hmm.
if you want to be a full-time writer,
Mm-hmm.
you probably need to go indie or hybrid. Not necessarily, like, I do have friends that have gone full-time author, straight up trad,
Yeah.
but it's so challenging because advances are getting smaller,
Mm-hmm.
and, in general, like, the publisher will invest in a few books, those will be their lead titles. If you are a lead
Mm-hmm.
title, you have a really good chance of getting more traction and, you know what I mean, starting
Right.
to build
Right.
that
And
career.
a real marketing budget.
Real marketing budget, all that
Right.
good stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, just in general, there's a lot of books out there that, you know, that aren't the lead title. Again, hi, hello. We are called the mid list. And there's
Mm-hmm.
nothing wrong with being mid list. There's a lot of
Mm.
people
George R. R.
who
Martin was midlist for a
mid
long time, right?
yeah, well, a lot of folks are, right? And you can build a career on mid list. It just takes like 8 or 9 books, right? A ton of
Right.
books because you're
Right.
building a steady catalog.
Yeah.
And with how slow trad pub is, it just takes a long time. So my current plan is to have some projects that I go with my agent and we send out on submission and we try to get trad pub deals for. But then I want to have my own projects that I own. And I can control when they come out and how I market them fully. Um, I really think that there's value in I think there's value in both, right? Like the
Yeah.
trad pub, you can't compete with the distribution arm that they have. Um, it is
Yeah.
unreal. I mean, it's incredible. I can go to a Barnes& and Noble in any state and I can find you know what I mean? I can find my book
Whoop,
on the
whoop.
shelf.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
insane, right? I can't
Yeah.
do that by myself. I don't have the cash monies for that. But or the name recognition, right?
Sure.
But yeah, I think there's value for sure in going hybrid.
Right.
I think it's a dope market. I do think honestly that with what Sanderson is doing and just like the other kick-ass people in the indie space right now, I feel like we're seeing like a renaissance of indie pub, right? Like there was like the
Mhm.
Wild West days in like 2012, 2013 when it was like first kind of really hitting and there was like a lot of people getting traction and stuff. And I do think it waned a little bit in the middle
Sure.
I think she's coming back. I don't know, I
To
hope
come
she's
back.
coming back.
I think that's fair. Yeah, but I mean, you know, I was a little in the indie scene in 2012, a little, but like my perception at the time was it was so different because like, I mean, where would you find like an editor in 2012, you know? where would you find like a cover designer in 2012? Whereas like now, I think it's easier to find. You have to do a little bit of work, but it's easier to find. They're definitely out there. They're definitely out. And but there's definitely that expectation that you're doing those things. The
For
expectation.
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, well,
that's
and that's
really.
honestly one of the reasons why I went trad first. Why
Mhm.
I didn't even really explore indie initially, because I knew I didn't know what to do. You know what I mean? I knew
Yeah.
I didn't know where to find an editor. I knew I had no idea what to do about a cover design or internal layout and all of that stuff. And so I was just like, let me just, let's see if I didn't do the agent and I got some good luck and I was able to get an agent and a deal for
Well, are
another
you
book. But yeah.
also probably somewhat talented writer? It might be.
I mean, sure, but like we can't understate how much luck is involved in the
Yeah.
trad pub
Yes.
process, right?
Well,
Like it's
in
all about
in any
catching the
kind
right
of.
person on the right day in the right mood.
Yeah.
And they see your email and they go, "Oh, let me take a closer look." Where if they'd seen it before lunch when they
Yeah.
were hungry, they might have
Yeah.
just scrolled past it, right? Like there is luck
Sure.
involved.
No, yeah, that's true. I love when you like hear from like super successful people like Mark Cuban, a billionaire, and he's like, yeah, I'm gonna be honest, anyone that's a billionaire, there's some luck involved. And I'm like, you're right,
Just
but
a little more.
yeah, but yeah, there might be some hard work maybe, but there's gonna be some luck involved too. Unless you're Walton, but that's a whole other story. Anyway, uh, that's super interesting though. I want to kind of highlight what you said. You said that you think to really make it in the industry right now, you almost have to be like some kind of hybrid, if not even an indie. And I think, yeah, you're right. I mean, you think about even a six-figure like book deal. When you think about how that's actually going to like get broken up and be given, so like you're going to get probably a third on signing, right? But then you're going to get a third like on project completion, I think, right? But that could be, a
Oh yeah.
ways out, right?
For sure. Well, and that's yeah, so with my advance for my first book, it was a small advance. I got a little advance.
Mhm.
But I got half upon signing and half upon delivery. If
Right,
you get a bigger advance, like God, I think some of them do it in quarters even where you get like
right.
and then one upon release and upon whatever.
Mhm.
Um but so I got half of my little advance upon signing, and then I couldn't deliver the manuscript until I got edits from my
Mhm.
editor, and I didn't get edits from my editor for over a year.
Right,
Um, and
right.
then it was 6 months after that or whatever until I was, my deadline was and it was finally delivered. So, like, you
And
don't
then
really have
and then
control over that income
right,
at
right.
all.
And then you hope that you earn out,
Yep.
and then start earning royalties. Otherwise, if you didn't earn out on that book, then the next one you're gonna be in the same position where like that's your only income.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a tough world out there. I mean, regardless. I mean, I know it's tough in Indy too. I don't have any experience there yet. Like
Yeah.
very soon. Um, but yeah, I just think that what to talk in my day job marketing finance bro language, I think you need to diversify. But you do, right? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
if you can go hybrid and get a little bit of that, sweet, sweet trad pub money, and then also have a little more agency, a little more control over some of your projects and go
Right.
indie with those. I think that's the best in both worlds,
Yeah.
as
No.
Hannah Montana says.
Yeah. Montana. Now she says she can buy herself flowers. So, there you go. Right.
Right?
Uh um Ryan the jokester, saying that if he does as an indie, if he doesn't hear back from his beta readers on the daily, then he has panic attacks. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Maybe
yeah, the
the clock
pace
don't stop.
I'm always amazed at the pace of trad and like in a bad way. Maybe
Yeah,
appalled's the better word, but
it's slow.
right.
Yeah.
Um so I love that. I think that's super interesting that you want to do hybrid. How are you choosing which projects that you want to go trad versus you want to do indie yourself?
Right now, vibes. I mean, I do feel like being in the market and, like, especially, like, with the podcast, getting to talk to folks,
Yeah.
we have folks on that are indie, we have folks on that are trad.
Right.
I have friends on both sides and that are doing hybrid and blah, 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 blah. I feel like I have a kind of good sense, maybe, on the kind of
Mhm.
stuff that's
Mhm.
hitting, striking a chord with readers in the indie market,
Mhm.
and so that's the kind of stuff, that I'm hoping to take there, and then I do have some projects where I'm like, "Ooh," like the weird little horror project I just wrote. I feel like I would really struggle to market that indie. Maybe I'll change my
Mhm.
mind later, who knows? But like I'm probably gonna try to go trad with that one. Just in the hopes that it finds a home at a weird little publisher that is able to market it to the lovely weird folks that are weird in the same way I'm weird that will enjoy it. Uh,
Mhm.
so yeah, I don't know, vibes. That's my only answer for you.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense, and I think that I mean, it makes sense. I was telling you a little bit about my 2 projects that are kind of working projects, but they're on the down low, so I'm not gonna say what they are. But that first
Yeah.
one I was telling you about, because it does have some progression fantasy elements, and I know that a lot of the readers that like that are reading on, like, Kindle Unlimited. That one I definitely think I need to go indie. I don't think that there's, like, a trad pub out there that's really, like, making their work on available on Kindle Unlimited, is there?
I don't know, not that I'm aware of. I mean, I guess there might be, but I not that I
Yeah, no, I'm not asking you to, be the authority on
yeah,
everything, but
I'm
I'm just
on the
asking.
record. Now I'm gonna get sued. No,
Suddenly you're a rep for all of the big 5. Yeah,
right?
right.
Perfect. They can
Yeah.
pay me for them all without publishing pays.
Right. Um, yeah, but the other project I have, I do think that one could do well trad, maybe. So
Well,
that's
it was a standalone.
mhm,
Standalone with
mhm.
series potential. That's like
Mhm.
you're speaking trad language with that
Mhm.
M word. Right?
Nice, nice. All right. Good stuff. Good stuff. So let's talk about, some of your upcoming works. Bo in the chat is saying, tell us more about the cyberpunk story. I don't know if you want to, but if you want to, I would love to hear more about it.
Yeah, I mean, I can give like little, I don't know,
Yeah.
little
Yeah.
elevator pitches.
Hmm?
Well, gosh, I actually don't really have an elevator pitch for the cyberpunk one. But I could tell you kind of about it a little bit, I guess. It's
The pitch is I'm writing a cyberpunk story.
the pitch is it's got uh cybernetics and badass ladies. No, it's set in like a, far future society,
Okay.
but sort of dystopian-esque. And basically the powers that be have installed a switch in people's minds that can kill you when you're no longer profitable. And
When you what?
so
Wow.
we are trying to overthrow that system, is the kind of gist. So
Dude,
yeah,
I already have so many questions. That's like what an interesting premise. You don't need to answer this, but just like I am wondering if the powers that be have that same switch, because that seems, maybe a good
interesting. I
right?
wonder if they do.
Nice, nice. Yo, Caden.
Yo!
Cyberpunk's so hot these days. Yeah, no,
So
that
hot
sounds
right now. What,
so
like
hot.
Zoolander?
Yeah. That sounds really cool. Man, already, like, I mean, you gave me so little, but it's like you're really getting gears turned. I like
It
that.
was so fun to write too, because that was the first project I'd written that wasn't, like, kinda sword and sorcery style fantasy,
Mhm.
and it was so freeing to, like, have characters that were very far apart, and I had to be like, "They need to communicate," and then I'd be like,
They can just
"They
talk.
just
Yeah.
they just talk,
Yeah.
because they have technology, like, this is amazing."
Right,
Um,
right.
so yeah, that was really fun for me to play with for the first time.
Nice. So what's the state of that project?
It may or may not be with my agent, I don't know.
Ooh, exciting. Okay, cool. So you have published your duology. How many books have you actually written?
I need to actually figure out the answer to this question because I get it a lot. And the reason why it's hard is because I have like Among Thieves is like the fifth book I wrote.
Mhm. That's
Ah,
nice.
I always say it's between like fourth and seventh. I don't know. It's somewhere in there. And the reason why it's confusing is because like I wrote an entire trilogy And then I ripped that apart, rewrote that as a single book, rewrote
Wow.
something else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Yes. Yeah.
I don't know which books count as separate books anymore.
Yeah. Sure.
But yeah, I wrote a lot of stuff before. So I wrote uh my fourth-ish book that I wrote got me my first agent. But
Whoop,
that book never got published either.
still
Um
whoop
so got me my
whoop.
agent. But it died on submission. No publisher picked it up. Now I'm glad because whatever. It wasn't as strong as Among Thieves, so I'm glad that Among Thieves is my debut.
There you go.
But yeah, so I wrote a lot of books before that, and then since Among Thieves and Thick as Thieves, well, I have 5 active projects right now.
What?
Well, 6 active projects right now,
What?
technically, yeah, that are
How do you keep that straight in your brain?
I don't know. I have ADHD, and I just kind of beep, 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 beep,
Yeah.
but here's the thing: is like none of them are at the same stage of done, right? So like,
Okay.
2 of them are like fully written and like theoretically edited. 2 of them are completed, but in like kind of various states of edits. One
Okay.
of them is like halfway drafted, but it's percolating right now because I'm not a good enough writer to write that one yet. And I realized it about 20,000 words in. You ever have that moment? And I was like, ooh, this one's gonna have to sit. Maybe a couple years from now, MJ can handle that. But right now, I'm not smart enough.
You're in good company. Ken Follett, like with Pillars of the. Have you read Pillars of the Earth?
No, not yet, but I'm familiar, obviously.
Yeah, but he had said before that he really wanted to write this book, but he felt that he wasn't good enough to write it. So it was on the back burner for a long time, but then eventually he felt up to the task, and like obviously it's been quite successful.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's I'm like, "Oh, maybe, later I'll write
Mhm.
that." And then the
Yeah.
last one I have is just in outline phase right now in the tab in Google Sheets, 2
Did
tabs
you-
over from StreamYard right now.
So explain this outlining in a spreadsheet to me. What is this madness?
It's great. It's amazing. 10 out
But
of 10.
like, how does it even work though? Like, do you do columns for chapters, and then what is going on? Like, I want
Nah,
like
well,
this
okay,
the
I feel like I
sense.
should clarify that I don't start in Excel. That would be
Okay.
madness. I start in a notebook with a pen,
Yeah.
and I have what I call nothing is wrong time. And it is like a period of time that is like sometimes a couple days, sometimes a couple hours, who knows? It's just, depends
Yeah.
on how it
Yeah.
goes, where I just scribble down random ideas and thoughts tied to the concept I'm thinking about, blah, blah, blah.
Right. Love it.
It's a misnomer because most of the things I write are actually wrong. Pretend nothing is wrong and have fun free time.
Sure.
And then I kind of like conceptualize out the rough skeleton of what I'm doing on. I do all of that on paper. And then once I kind of have an idea of what I'm doing, I've
Yeah.
mapped out who my POV characters, if I'm having more than one, are,
Mhm.
and the rough like arc of the plot, the rough shape of like kind of what happens. Then I go into Excel. And what I do is I
Okay.
have a row for every scene in the story.
Okay.
And then I have a column for every plot, subplot, and character arc. And then I just fill in the boxes. It's so great. It's like, and then everything's so modular. I'm so type
Yeah.
A, so this really helps my brain like conceptualize. And then it helps me like reorder stuff and like add things, flesh things out, find glaring problems, gaps, things like that before everything is a messy tangle vomit of words in a Word document. You know what I mean?
Yes, yes, yes.
So yeah, it makes a lot of people really nauseous when I describe that process to them, which is fine. But
Yeah.
also, I can tell you how many people I've described that process to, and they've been like, "Oh, that sounds so fun!" And I'm like, "Yeah, I see you get it."
I
Everyone's got a different process.
I think I love that. I think I might really like that.
Yeah, it's really fun. It's really nice. And honestly, like, okay, so Greta Kelly, the author of The Frozen Crown, Queen of Days, a couple of things, she thought I was crazy for it. And then she texted me a little while
Yeah.
ago and was like, MJ, guess what I'm doing? I was like, what? I'm outlining a project. And I just put it in Excel, and you're right. And I was like, I know. We got another one.
There are dozens of us.
Yes, right. Us weird little data scientists turned authors that will
Right, right.
haunt your nightmares.
You got another fan, like what you're hearing.
There we
Right,
go,
right, right.
see? Excel
Ryan's
game.
like, yep, yep.
Right.
Right, right. That's awesome. I like the idea. Yeah, the now I can, understand how this works. I like the
And
idea
I
of like,
color code it so then it's
yeah.
pretty, and then, like,
Mhm,
what I'll do, like, once I have all the boxes filled in and color coded, I'll, like, just zoom out of the document so everything's really tiny, but
mhm.
all I can see are the blocks of color, and that
Yeah.
just gives me, like, a map of, like, where the story goes, and, like, I can't tell you how many times I've been like, "Oh, shit, like, I don't touch on this character arc for, like, woo, like, 15 scenes, boop, should probably add
Wow.
a scene in there," right? So it's
Yeah.
like, it kinda helps me catch stuff like that before
That's
it gets messy.
hang on.
I'm gonna take some notes here.
Right, I'm going, yes, I'm definitely watching the stream later. That's really, really good. Um, so when you said you list all your scenes, which is also amazing. Like, you're a planner. Clearly, I mean, you can't put things in Excel and not be a planner. But so like you have when you start to like sit down, like once you kind of have that outline and you're like, okay, it's time to start really like writing this thing. Every single scene you have in the book is already written. How often do you like surprise yourself with like, you know what, I'm going to add another scene here? Like, how much room do you give for yourself there?
A ton, all the time, I
Okay.
give myself yeah, 'cause that's like I so it's honestly for me, the outline is I mean, I follow it largely, like, the gist of it, I follow it, all the time, but I frequently deviate from it because there's so many times you get to it in the actual draft, and there's something you thought was gonna just be, like, a dagger in the heart or like a symphony moment, right? And you actually get to write it and you're like, "Fuck, this does not work at all," right? So, you gotta because the outline is the 1,000-foot view, right? And once you're actually,
Right.
like, in
Right.
the trenches, like, a lot of
Right.
times it's very different. Um, so yeah, I give myself a lot of room for that. I just for myself and, so I have friends that are pantsers and find the idea of sitting down every day with just blank freedom to do what they want and explore and like just send their characters out to do their will they find that really freeing, they find that fun and exploratory and great. I find that paralyzing and awful. And I would never get anything done if I tried to write that way, which I
Mhm.
know because I have tried. I really I've tried it. It sounds so magical and fun, and it doesn't work for me. So yeah, what I do is, I have my outline that I follow, and then I have 2 rules while I'm drafting because I
Mhm.
hate first drafts. I find them frustrating, and I feel stupid, and I feel like I can't write. It's very scary. So my 2 rules are I never end a writing session at the end of a scene. So if I finish a scene in a writing session, I will start the next scene before I get up for the day, even if I
Yeah.
only have time to do like 2 sentences of it, right? Whatever.
Mhm.
Just so that the ball is kind of
Yeah.
rolling when I sit
Yep.
down again tomorrow. And then I write 3 bullet points, 2 bullet points, 5 bullet points, whatever, a couple bullet points of what I'm planning to write the next time I sit down. Which could be like, "Oh, I'm gonna write this conversation between these 2 people, they're gonna fight, and so and so is gonna get stabbed," right? Like, whatever. Very bare bones, but just so that I have a roadmap when I sit
Yeah.
down tomorrow, um, that has helped me so much. That's like my Bible and holy grail of surviving first drafts.
I love that. I love that. 2 points. One, we both mentioned we talked to Travis Baldry, he's wonderful. One of the things that he said in my chat was that he's like, "I wish I was a pantser. I wanted to be a pant." He tried NaNoWriMo like 6 times before he actually did Legends and Lattes, and he always failed because he was just trying to pants. But then finally, Legends and Lattes, he had an outline, and he says, "It's amazing how much fucking easier it is when you have a plan." Like,
Right?
yeah,
Right?
it
It's
was
like
great.
it
It was
is,
great.
and I again, I know, like, so Hannah Long, H.M. Long, author of Hall of Smoke, Darkwater Daughter, all those books,
Uh-huh.
she is one of my friends that is a pantser, like, diehard
Mhm.
pantser, and she would hate that. She would hate having an outline. Well, she does hate that because she's writing books under contract a lot, and she has had to write,
Mm.
on an outline, and she has told me that she hates it. Uh,
Yeah.
but I tried to pants a book. I mean, I've tried it multiple times. The latest one was Nano, not last year, but the year before.
Mhm.
Um, and so I was like texting with her and I was like, okay, so how do I know when I'm ready to start drafting? Like, what information do I need to have? Like, I don't know this or that and the
Yeah,
other thing.
yeah,
Like, what do you usually have before you start drafting? Because me,
right.
I have my Excel outline. I have a OneNote document with 87,000 pages of character interviews and notes, world building, and whatever the fuck. And she was like, "Oh, I usually have like a character and an image."
What?
Yeah,
I agree.
it works for her. Like, look at her.
Yeah, sure. But I agree with that.
You are a witch. How did you do that?
Yes. She doesn't actually write with a pen. She writes with a wand. Yes.
Yeah. I tried to write a book for Nano with a character and an image, and it did not work for me.
Yeah, right.
I am not a pantser.
Yeah. No, Stephen King, he says he just puts like interesting characters in interesting situations. I'm like, that's a cool idea. I do that too in my outline.
Yes. Yes. Same.
Yeah. The other thing too that you mentioned, like not ending at the end of a scene. Jed Hearn, former host of Wizards, Warriors, and Words, he has said that he'll even stop mid-sentence, right? And that way enough of the sentence that he knows where to pick it up, but like
where you were going.
It's
a vibe. It makes it so much less scary.
Yeah, I need to do that. When you're drafting, do you write every single day?
I mean, probably, but not religiously, right? I don't prescribe to subscribe to the belief that you must write every day to be a writer, blah, 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 blah.
No,
I think that anyone that gives dogmatic writing advice, which this is dogmatic writing advice, don't listen to dogmatic writing advice. Kind of like only Sith uses absolute. But yeah, no, I mean, I usually do end up writing almost every day, but it's just because I'm obsessed with what I'm working on. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I tear myself away from it. Like, I have trouble stopping writing to do the work I actually get paid for at my day job. You know what I mean? I have to force myself to stop. So usually I end up writing every day, but I have times where I'm busy or I'm burnt out or whatever. A day or two.
Yeah. So, and right now you're working on a project that you're writing by hand.
So I'm actually working on a new one now. But yeah, I drafted the entire first draft of the last project I drafted by hand. I wasn't trying to be like a hipster about it. It was just more like my brain was being an ass to me and wouldn't focus on the computer. And I just and I do this frequently where I will take it offline for a day or two and draft by hand for a little while. And then usually my brain will decide to start cooperating with me again and work on the computer. And it just didn't for the whole draft. But it was actually kind of nice. And I might adapt it as kind of my process, because here's the trick, right? When I'm writing it by hand, because what I would do is I would write by hand until I had 10, 15 pages written by hand.
Okay.
And then I would go type those into the computer, the next couple days, whatever. When I was writing it by hand, not scary, doesn't count, because I'm just chicken scratch writing in my hand. This is easy. This doesn't count. So my brain is tricked. My brain doesn't believe that this matters. So it's easier to write. When I'm typing it in, I'm not writing. I'm just transcribing. So, it's easy. It doesn't count.
It's all about the tricks, right?
Exactly. Like, I know I'm tricking my own brain, but for some reason, my brain is dumb enough to fall for it, and I'm going with
it. Brains are dumb. That's why I never use mine. Pro tip. Well done, MJ. Yep. That's really good. I like that in concept, but I want to do a draft by hand, and but I have it works in reverse. When I'm doing it by hand, I'm like, I want this to be good. And then it's debilitating, Whereas like what I've done lately is start to dictate. And if I'm dictating, then I feel like I have tons of permission to just bullshit around,
Just ramble. I love that. I love any way we can trick our brains into making our imposter syndrome shut up and sit down for a second and let us work.
Yes.
It's a worthwhile task in my book.
Super interesting. All right. So in addition to your podcasting, your books, your book writing, You're a TikTok superstar, I think.
A
You're
vast
denying.
exaggeration.
Yeah, right. No, but you've got a bunch of like thousands, tens of thousands of followers on TikTok, which is pretty rad. One of the type of content that you're making are like book recommendations based on video games, which I love that idea. I'm going to do it, but I want to tell you now, I had that idea before you were doing it. So, or like not before, but before I saw that you were doing it anyway.
Oh my god,
Um,
yeah. No, I am all about bringing more nerds into the book reading fold. So,
exactly.
like, I've had times where I stumble or, like, I get tagged on
Yeah.
TikTok where someone else is doing a recommendation like that, and, like, someone
Yeah.
will tag me and be like, "This person's copying
MJ
you."
was doing it first.
And
Yeah.
I'll be like,
Yeah.
"I don't care.
Yeah.
Woo!"
Yeah. Good.
I don't own the market on this. Media to other media. Lots of people can do that.
Right.
But yeah, my favorite thing about that series is, like,
Mhm.
when I get comments from people, and I've had it, like, so many times, and, like, it warms my heart every time when they're like, "I have not read a book since high school, but you compared this book to
This
Halo.
game I love.
You
Right. Right.
compared this book to, Zelda, whatever, this game that I adore, and I
Right.
read it and I loved it, and now I'm back into reading again." And I'm always like,
Yeah.
"We got
Yes.
another one back."
Yes.
Um, so yeah, I support it.
MJ, when people are doing recommendations, as long as you recommend my books too, you should. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Here we go. Yeah, 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 yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Right. Right.
Maybe that's the toll. You must
Right. Yeah. That's the toll.
at least one
Exactly. Yeah.
MJ Kuhn book.
Right. 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 Be like,
You
hey,
only have
listen,
2 to pick from, so choose wisely.
choose what. That's funny. That's funny. Ryan needs to do that Halo to his book comparison. Yep. That's pretty good. Yeah. So yeah, that seems really fun. I want to steal that idea. I love that people are responding to that exactly that way too. Have you thought about doing it the other way? Like, if you like this book, check out this video game.
I feel like it works both ways. Like, I've
Yeah.
had people ask that on my videos before, and I'm
Hmm.
like, "Yeah." I mean, honestly, like, because okay, one of the ones my first video to go viral ever on TikTok was where I compared, J.S. Lewis's The Last Watch to Mass Effect. Um, and I'm
How much
totally
did your nerd heart just like swell? You're like, oh, Mass Effect.
so happy, and it's literally, like, to this day, the comp
Yeah.
videos I do to Mass Effect,
Yeah.
uh, are some of my most popular ones, like, always, like, I've done a whole one where it's like, "If you play Mass Effect as Paragon Shep, read these
Mm,
books. If you play as Renegade Shep, read these books."
nice.
So fun. But yeah, and I do think that if you love Mass Effect and you haven't read The Last Watch or the whole Divide series, you
Yeah.
should because you'd probably like it, you know what I mean? So,
Hmm. Hmm.
yeah.
All right, which is perfect because I do want to talk a little bit about Mass Effect. Now that we haven't, we've talked enough
Yeah,
about everything else.
we've done our responsible talk. Now let's just
Right.
be little nerdy kids. Cool?
Right. 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 What? Yeah. So listen, I do really love the game, but I haven't gotten to the third one yet. But like, there's so many games that I haven't gotten to yet. I want to. I want to. I want to be a full-time creative and stream some of that shit and like talk about the stories too. Right. Right.
That
Right.
would be so fun.
But what like talk to for anyone uninitiated, what is it that you like love about Mass Effect and like how much of it is the story? Like, I mean, obviously the story's fantastic,
Story
but
is
like
fantastic.
yes.
Mass Effect is I mean, it ruined other video games for me for a minute. Also, have you been spoiled on the ending of 3?
Yes, go ahead
Okay,
and
I'm
spoil
not
it.
gonna spoil
Yes.
3 because you're not certain on that.
No,
But
spoil it.
just
Spoil it.
be aware, I it's a controversial ending.
Right.
I hated it at first. Now I really like it. And it's an unpopular opinion that I like it though. A lot of people hate it, and I get why, clearly, because I hate it. I literally was in mourning after I finished Mass Effect 3 for the first time, to the point that I could not play video games at all for, like, 2 months. Uh, I had, like, a grieving period. But yeah, the story is fantastic. It's,
Mhm.
I could nerd about this for a long time. It's one of the reasons why I think it's very challenging to adapt video games into movies and TV shows.
Mhm.
Lately, there has been a little more success with it, but I think the reason why it fails so often is because modern games are already so cinematic. It already
Mhm.
has such a story to it,
Mhm.
but you also get to be a participant in that story.
Mhm.
I think adaptations work really well when you add an element, right? So, like, I'm
Yeah.
adapting a book to a movie, I'm adding a visual, right?
Mhm.
Like, that works quite well. I think it's harder to do an adaptation when you're subtracting an element. So,
Yeah.
we have a video game where you get the whole it was really great immersive story and you're a part of it
Yeah.
versus, "Now let's adapt it." And you get this really great immersive story, but you're just watching. Like,
Yeah.
you don't get to play. I think that's just my, like, personal
Yeah.
whatever take on
Yeah.
why that's hard. And I will be terrified if they ever try to adapt Mass Effect. Because another thing about Mass Effect that makes it so great is that your decisions matter.
Yeah.
That was life-changing for me in a video that was the first video game I ever played where there was, like, an actual decision tree that, like, truly
Yeah,
mattered,
really, really
right?
branched. Right, right, right.
Right, where it wasn't just, like, you can have, like, different conversations with people, whatever, blah, blah, blah. It was, like, literally, someone dies in Mass Effect 1, you don't get them in 2 and 3. Someone
Mhm.
dies in 2, you don't get them in 3. Like,
Mhm.
you make this decision in 2, well, you
Right.
sacrifice the council in 2, good fucking luck getting anything done with them in 3, right?
Mhm,
Because the new
mhm.
people are like, "You sacrificed the old guys."
Mhm.
Yeah, so that was life-changing for me that it, like oh my god, I love Mass Effect so much. It's so
There
good.
were have like I think the story is fantastic. One of my favorite lines in video games ever is in Mass Effect. I can't remember if it's 1 or 2, but the one where there's kind of that, like, assassin character, and he says that removing evil is not the same as creating good. That
Ooh,
was
is that Thane?
I
So
think so.
that would be in 2 if it's I
Yeah.
love Thane.
Right? Right?
So cerebral. Yeah.
Right? I love it, I love it. I what do you know? Because I feel like one of the there's so much good writing in games, but games are such a different thing in that, like, for books, we know who the author is, right? For movies, we know who the director is. We know who the I mean, there's a ton of people working on a movie, but still, we know the director. We know the actors. Games, like the individuals that are making it, we know like the studio name, but very rarely do we know the name of like the people that are writing or like the lead game design. I mean, how many lead game designer names do you know? You know?
Right? Not many. And that's
Yeah.
yeah, that's the thing that's, crazy. Well, and God, I wanted to work in video games for a while.
Same.
There is still a part of me that, like, thinks I want to, but then I hear all the horror stories over and over and over again
Yeah,
about, like,
yeah,
all the different
yeah.
various issues,
Go
across
talk to Travis Baldry more. Stay with books. Right.
yeah, I know.
Yeah, yeah,
And I'm like, "Oh, okay, I can't." I mean, like, whatever.
yeah.
Um, yeah, no, it's crazy, and the because the stories are just as immersive,
Right.
but if you think about it, it's kind of like, could you name the people in the writer's room at a lot of TV shows? You
That's a good
know?
point. That's a good
Right?
point.
Like, oftentimes not, and I think that's I'm not saying it's, like, a good thing that we can't or, like, that it's
Right.
valid,
Right.
but I think that a lot of times when it is, you know, designed in that way and it's done by a group, it's I don't know, fewer people know who they are, which is it is a shame because yeah, it's a
That's a really
kick-ass
interesting point.
story.
One of the things that was super interesting in talking with Travis, though, is like he was talking about how like the expectations are so different, right? If you write a book and someone doesn't like it, the worst thing that they're likely to do is give you a bad review, right? You put out a game and some of the players don't like it, they're like, "What the fuck? You need to patch this. This is bullshit. I'm gonna DOS you." You know what I mean? And that's just like kind of part of the culture, and it which is sad, you know. And I don't think
Yeah,
that's going away from games anymore anytime soon, which is a shame because it is such an interesting storytelling medium, you know.
yeah, well, I think it's I think it's anything that gets popular enough. But I will say when I started making video game content on the internet was when I had to close my DMs. Uh, so yeah,
Yeah,
especially as a
as a lady.
female
Mhm,
presenting person talking about
mhm,
video games on the internet. I was
mhm,
like, "Oh, no more DMs for you, stranger."
mhm.
So, yeah, I
Wah,
will say
wah.
that.
Yeah, yeah. Book people are good people, though. You know,
Book people are chill AF. I love
right?
book people.
Have you ever like played with any interactive narratives? Like they're sort of like so there's one that I played that I really really love. It's called Lifeline. Have you ever heard of this one?
No.
I recommend it. Go grab your phone. Lifeline.
Yeah, Lifeline.
Yeah.
Is
So
it
it's super neat. the premise is that, like, phone app, really cheap, but like it's and given that you're into games, I want to talk about this. Because the premise is that the character is Taylor, and nice androgynous name, and you never know if it's a man or woman, so you get to project your own. But Taylor was on a spaceship and it crash landed, and the only person that Taylor can seem to talk to is you through your phone.
Ooh.
And Taylor is asking you for help, like figuring out how to navigate this situation, right?
Interesting.
What's super cool to me about this is like they took advantage of the medium, right? Because not only is there interactivity, but you'll make a decision for Taylor. You'll be like, well, I think you should go over there. Like Taylor will say, okay, well, it's going to take me a while to walk over there. I'll be in touch. And you don't hear from Taylor for like 4 hours. And then you get a push notification from Lifeline and finally, like, or Taylor's dead,
Interesting. Okay, so it goes in real life time. Like I'm sure there are other games that do this, but the only one
Right.
that I know of that does that is Animal Crossing.
Right.
It happens in real time, right? Where it's like if you abandon the game for too long, there are like real in-game consequences. Which in Animal Crossing is just cockroaches in your house, but
so this one doesn't have too many consequences if you're not answering right away, but it does, like the fact that there's that period of time where you're not hearing from Taylor and you're not sure how it went, it adds so much tension to it, Right. I thought it was absolute brilliance, and I'm pushing that on the world,
Yeah, right. You're like, everyone check this out. We need to talk about it.
Yes. Yeah. Super fun. Let's see. Mass Effect. I want to ask you some of your favorite games, but because we're talking about video games, I have to also say Rob J. Hayes is still wrong about his opinions on real-time strategy games.
What are his opinions?
He says that Dawn of War 2 is a better game than StarCraft 2, and he's wrong, and Ryan will back me up on this if he's still in the chat. I just want to roll that.
Go on the record.
We just want to roll that bus over Rob every time that I get. Yeah. Part of my my goals in life. So what are some of your favorite games that you're playing lately, though?
So okay, well, lately, I got Baldur's Gate 3. I built my first PC last year, and I bought Baldur's Gate 3 immediately and played that for like 130 hours of gameplay. Yeah, so that was one.
130, yeah.
That is a huge game. Honestly, here's the thing. I haven't beat it yet because I've been just like kind of, frig-frogging around, not beating it. But like I'm like at the end. I just like haven't beat it. I'm thinking about like I'm getting like the intrusive thought to just start over and build a new character and like start again. Because it's one of those games where like so many of your decisions matter and like the things that you do.
Oh, and you're like, oh, I wish I hadn't done that.
Did I F up some stuff? Well, and I totally did because anyone that's played BG3, get ready to laugh at me. I never found Gale. Never found him. You're supposed to find him like probably the first like 3 hours of gameplay, probably. I just like missed him at the beginning, and I never found him. So he's never been in my party. I have no. When I'm looking at the memes, I'm like, who is this man? So like, clearly I missed some stuff.
Right.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that. I have not yet played Tears of the Kingdom, but I'm doing a replay of Breath right now, in like anticipation of a playthrough. Of Tears, and because of Zelda, I love the Zelda games. My favorite Zelda game, Majora's Mask, maybe, or unpopular opinion, but Wind Waker.
Okay.
But it's because Wind Waker was my first ever Zelda game.
Well,
I was late to gaming. My first ever console was a GameCube. I was
really
late bloomer.
Yeah.
Didn't get into gaming until I was in like middle school.
I remember I have fond memories of playing OG Mario on the NES back in the day,
Oh yeah. I mean, I played stuff on the NES and on like the N64 and stuff at friends' houses.
Yeah.
But like I didn't own a console at all until the GameCube. That was like, whatever big Christmas gift for me and my sister that year or whatever.
Did you ever get laughed at by that dog and duck hunt? Because I don't think you had like a millennial childhood if you didn't have that fucking dog going. That fucking dog, right?
Try it.
So GameCube, yeah. All right. Nice.
Probably my favorite indie game though, recently I was playing, I don't know if you've played Coffee Talk. There's 2 of them. They're fantastic.
Pulling up Steam. Go on.
Yeah, so basically, Coffee Talk is you are a barista in a Seattle coffee shop, but, like,
Okay.
a fantasy version, so, like, the people that come to your coffee shop, a lot of them are, like, cryptids and stuff,
Uh-huh.
and you make them drinks, but, like, you also talk to them and hear their stories, and, like, it's very much more of,
Holy
like, an
shit.
interactive visual novel than
It's
it
like
is.
Legends and Lattes, the game.
Yeah,
Right, yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
I think I comped Legends and Lattes to Coffee Talk on my, TikTok. If I didn't, I
Nice.
should have.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's fantastic, it's really good, there's 2 of them. And they're short 'cause they're indie games, it's probably,
Sure.
I don't know, 7, 8 hours of gameplay per
Sure,
game.
sure.
Um, yeah,
Nice.
it's really
Nice.
good. Stardew Valley too, though. I love me a cozy game. I have no shame about loving a cozy game.
Why should
Um,
there be shame? No shame. No shame.
right? I know
No
when I
sh
was younger, right, like, when I was a Wii gamer girl, I would be like, I like just, Gears of War, Mass Effect, blah, blah, blah,
I'm fucking hard. Right,
who
right, right.
needs Animal Crossing?" And then in the
Yeah,
corner,
yeah.
I'm, like, sitting there playing, whatever. Um, no, I'm like, I like all the games, every of the games.
I feel
Sometimes
like
because of games.
I feel like post-pandemic too, like nobody has any shame about a cozy game, right? Everyone's
Oh,
like,
oh my god, with the release of that was, like, perfect timing for me. I was
mhm.
like, right when I feel like life is falling apart, this double dose of nostalgia straight into my veins. Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Yeah, that was great.
Nice, nice, nice. Yeah. Leave us all right. This has been super fun. Leave us with a recommendation for like a game to a book, please.
Ooh, game to a book recommendation.
Yep.
I'm trying to think if it should be a new one. I don't know if I can think of a new one on the spot.
You
Um,
could do like, one you've already done on TikTok or whatever, that sort of thing.
One I've already done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
Okay, if you like Skyrim,
Yep. And
you
who doesn't?
should yeah, I would say everybody likes Skyrim.
Right, right.
You should check out, Hall of Smoke and that series by H.M. Long. It's got
Oh,
Nordic vibes, it's got,
okay.
like, wandering gods that are, like, come down to the earth. It doesn't have dragons, that is the one thing, there are not dragons in the Hall of Smoke series, but it's got the vibes, right? Like, those very Nordic fantasy world
Mhm, mhm.
energy. Um,
Nice, nice.
Sprawling scenic world, it's great. Yeah.
Seems like a good comp. Very good. MJ, this has been absolutely lovely. It's fun to actually get to talk with you after listening to you for a year.
Good to actually meet you instead of
Right.
just asynchronously watching each other's stuff.
Where can people find and follow you online?
Yeah, you can find me across all of the socials at MJ Kuhn Books, all one word squished together. So Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, blah, 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 blah. You can also go to my website, which is just mjkuhn.com.
Mhm.
And if you sign up for my newsletter, you get a free novelette bum, 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 by
Whoop,
me.
whoop.
So, and I won't even pester you with the newsletter because I haven't sent a newsletter out in like 6 months. So basically, this is a free novelette, and then like maybe someday you might get an email from me about something.
when you have a book out, you'll be like, oh,
Yeah,
by
right.
the
You get
way,
a
right?
notification anytime I have a book release,
Yeah,
and a free
yeah,
story. It's a
yeah.
win-win.
Yeah. All right. So go sign up for MJ's newsletter. Get yourself a novelette. Go listen to SFF Addicts. If you haven't yet, what are you doing? You got to go listen to it. Go get yourself an SFF Addicts shirt,
Yeah,
right? Because
some
it's
merch.
awesome.
Oh yeah, check out our Patreon too. We got like bonus episodes and authors do readings for us that we post on our Patreon. We got all kinds of goodies on there.
By the way, I know that there's some authors in the chat. What are y'all doing sleeping on the top Patreon tier where you can get advertising on SFF Addicts? I'm going to jump on that. I don't know why you guys aren't. So, all right. Yeah, super fun. Thanks for being here, MJ. Thank you all for listening and watching. If no one's told you today, you're an absolute legend.